herb in my brain. So bring the medication for my brain to heal the whole of the nation from the pain and break up all the circles and the chains. I need some meditation in my brain. So bring the medication for my brain to heal the whole of the nation from the pain. Break up all the circles and the chain. Hey, no, this could never be no man killer. Good for my head, so me call it as the man healer. When me ill, you know me never need a painkiller. It's quite exciting, me call it as the man chiller. Give me good man, so me not think illa. What a inspiration, fit on a sound killer. Feed the pagan, me spark it like a 9 miller. Fi fight the liquor and the coke, ganja and the pillar. That's why me need some herb in my brain. So bring the medication for my brain to heal the whole of the nation from the pain. Break up all the circles and the chains. I need some.
The Chinese domination of downtown Kingston. Have you ever went to downtown Kingston, Jamaica, and realized how the Chinese are all in stores, but the black people are all outside in stalls? And the black people that are inside the stores literally slave away for the Chinese, who sit on high seats looking down on the black people, who do all the work. The Chinese people only handle the money, while the black people do literally everything else. All the heavy lifting, all the packing, all the sales is done by black people. They are only not allowed to handle the money, seemingly because the Chinese don't trust them. What does that remind you of when one race does all the work, and the other race just sit back and make the decisions? It is exactly like slavery. Only this time, the Chinese have replaced the whites, and black people are paid a salary in order to tolerate being controlled by another race again. A question too important to ignore is, why do Asians from halfway around the world own all the stores in downtown Kingston, Jamaica? And if black people can do all the work in Asian stores except handling the money and making change, then why don't black Jamaicans own more stores in downtown Kingston? Are we to believe that black people simply can't make change, since that's the only work most of the Chinese business owners do anyway? Another important question is, why are the Chinese posted on high seats looking down on the black people who work for them? Is that good for the self-esteem of the black workers, who have to look up to the Chinese while working for them? Knowing our struggle with racism, colonization and the black inferiority complex, are we really not concerned about the master-servant relationship developing between black Jamaicans and the Chinese in downtown Kingston? Is Jamaica prepared to welcome a new racial master after 500 years of brutal oppression and racism under European colonization? Why do Jamaicans have to work for the Chinese anyway? Can't black Jamaicans be assisted in opening their own stores, and also refurbish some of the many vacant buildings in downtown Kingston, like the Chinese have been doing since they came? And what's up with that rumor that the Chinese aren't required by the Jamaican government to pay taxes? Is that the real reason why the Chinese currently own 90% of our supermarkets and grocery stores? The lie that Chinese people are more hard-working than black people has been exposed, since it's black people who do all the work for the Chinese in downtown Kingston. Except for making change, of course, because apparently making change is what's stopping black people from owning their own businesses in their own country. Look at all the foreign-owned businesses downtown and beyond. Black people do all the work except making change, yet we are told that black people can't do business. Can you make change? Can you do basic mathematics? Then, why should you be forced to work for foreigners who need you to do the work that they can't, or refuse to do? Can't the JLP and PNP help their people in owning more businesses in downtown, instead of slaving away to make the Chinese rich? Are we going to work hard every day to help the Chinese take over our country? Are we prepared to be colonized by another racial outsider again? The black government and the black people of Jamaica must emancipate themselves from mental slavery, before the Chinese use divide and rule to pit us against each other and become the masters of us all. It has happened before under the Europeans, and we must see to it that it does not happen again. Black people unite. Black people rise up. The revolution is now. Join the revolution. It's time to embrace the philosophy of Marcus Garvey, one love.
not work for black people. Guns, drugs, and politics. First of all, with guns. Guns were invented by white people to kill black people, so even when a black man has a gun in his hand, he's not going to kill or shoot anyone else but another black man like himself. Because the possession of the gun is merged and combined with the indoctrination of self-hatred through white supremacy that came through a colonial agenda to miseducate us and a media representation of us as savages. So you put guns in the black community, the only other people that black people with guns are going to kill are black people like us. And if there was any risk whatsoever of whites or Syrians or Chinese being shot with guns that black people possess, it would not be so easy for us to get guns in the first place. Second, drugs. In all the visits that I've made into the prisons, I've never seen any white people in prison for drugs, or Chinese people, or Indian people, or Syrians. But according to Dr. Darius Figuera, there are no African drug laws on the top level. He said all of the drug laws, the major importers and traffickers of illegal narcotics in Trinidad are whites, Chinese, Syrians, and Indians. But African people are 95% in the prison. And when the white people and the Syrians and the Chinese traffic drugs, they buy houses, property, land, real estate, send their children to university, buy cars and trucks, businesses, and expand their entrepreneurship. When we sell drugs, apart from going to jail or getting shot and killed in some ignorant gang conflict, what do we do with the money that we make from the drugs? Spinning rims, paint job on a car, gold chains. Oh man, if that's how you're thinking, that those gold chains are representing chains of slavery that have been taken off our hands and feet and put on our minds but fallen down to our necks. And third, politics. Okay, I respect everyone's political choices. But you have all these different political parties, but when it comes to the backbiting and the quarreling and arguing and squabbling, it's African people in one party against African people in another party. And regardless of which party's in power, it's the same. Whites and Chinese and Syrians and French Creoles that are getting rich. All of the contracts. We just wear the t-shirts, the hat, wave the flag, run behind the truck, and get nothing. And then they try to impress upon your mind that you're worth nothing, you deserve nothing, and the only way you can benefit from being part of our political organization is if you involve yourself in the pulling down of your own people. So as Jomo Kenyatta said, when the white man came to Africa, he had the Bible, we had the land. He taught us to pray with our eyes closed. When we open back up our eyes, he had the land, we had the Bible. So we say that when the politician comes into the community, he has the politics, we have the power. He teaches us to think with our minds closed. When we open back up our minds, we have the politics and he has the power. The politics is the paraphernalia, the colors and the flags and the banners and the t-shirts and the posters. But he has the power. And he takes the power, which is the voting numbers combined, takes that power, gives it to his finances, and leaves the masses of the people in poverty. So guns, drugs, and politics, the negative impact of those within our communities have to be replaced by unity, self-sufficiency, business entrepreneurship, land ownership, and reorganization of our families. Think, black people.
Well then, I grade. Me need ya, oh, hey. I need some herb in my brain, so bring the medication for my brain to heal the whole of the nation from the pain and break up all the circles and the chains. I need some meditation in my brain, so bring the medication for my brain to heal the whole of the nation from the pain. Break up all the circles and the chain. Hey, no.
California made history today. A state task force released its final list of proposed reparations for African Americans. The final report is more than 1,000 pages and includes more than 100 recommendations, from a formal apology to monetary compensation. NBC Bay Area's Scott Budman joins us now with a closer look at California's effort to atone for generations of racial disparity. And Scott, tell us more about the details in this 1,000-page report.
Well, Janelle, after 2 years of discussion, the final report includes more than 100 specific recommendations, including recommendations on a formal apology from the state. But much of the discussion is centered around recommendations for monetary compensation. And while the report does not include specific dollar amount, it does contain a method to determine who would be paid if the state approves the plan.
I'm going to stay in the struggle until America is redeemed. And the day will come when all of us will be able to say, I'm black and I'm proud.
Pastor Amos Brown of San Francisco's Third Baptist Church was among those who spoke passionately about reparations to atone for past race-based disparities, housing discrimination, land seizure, and other harms done to black Californians.
And we're going to read, and we're going to make sure that our descendants will be able to consult this great document and see the evidence that this state has committed the crime against black folks, and it's time for them to pay their crime bill.
Effective today, we're making our brothers and sisters whole.
We have been on the battlefield fighting against principalities and things that we cannot see in order to force this system to do right by descendants of enslaved people for the generational harm that has been inflicted upon us.
While not specifying a dollar amount, the task force recommends monetary compensation to individuals who can trace their history to ancestors who were enslaved in the U.S. or a free black person living in America prior to 1900. The metric would provide an estimated $1.8 million to the state's oldest qualifying black residents. In total, the task force recommended more than 115 policy reforms.
So it is also my hope that the task force general efforts strengthen the movement for global reparatory justice for people of African descent.
The recommendations now go to the California legislature, who will decide what to approve. And Camilla Moore, the chair of the task force, who you just heard from, also addressed the fact that today's final report did coincide with the Supreme Court's decision to strike down race-conscious college admissions. Moore tweeted out today that the task force reparation recommendations are not race-based, but rather based on lineal descent. The legislature is now expected to begin discussing the recommendations in the coming months. Back to you.
For today, in this video, I want to touch briefly on the question of financing, alternative, different ways of financing your business project. And they are you have both formal and informal financing, which I will deal with in more details in another video soon, maybe the very next video. But today I want to touch on reparation, because reparation is going to be one of the major issues that we discuss and in these videos, and it is potentially the largest source of financing for black business. I'm talking about reparations for slavery and colonialism, both for Africans at home and abroad, and strictly for business development. Compensation, I think, should be for business development, to be used for business development, and not for consumption, especially to give black folks money to go and spend and buy more stuff. I am going to mention, well, we all know about, or most of us do know about, the history of slavery and colonialism, the use of slaves to grow sugar cane and tobacco and cotton in the Caribbean and in North America. Also to use the resources of Africa to build Europe, Britain, the United Kingdom, and North America and their colonies. And this is the ruling class, it's rich people in those countries. And I just mentioned two references quickly. One is Capitalism and Slavery, very good book written by Dr. Eric Williams from Trinidad and Tobago. Another one, which is a more recent update of the issue, is Neocolonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the president or ex-president of the first president of Ghana, who was thrown out by the powers that be, European powers and the CIA and so on, because any body or any government or any person, especially in those times and today, that tried to fight against and change the economic situation, political, not so bad, or the other things, yes, but try to change the economic situation. As I keep remembering and thinking about Brother Julius Malema in South Africa as an example today of that economic struggle. But in a later video soon, I will get into more details about that. And I am hoping that the Black Lives Matter. Black lives will matter when Black people have economic power like the other races. Black lives will matter like the lives of other people when Black people have economic power like the other races in proportion to their share of the population. And the Black Lives Movement, the Black Caucus here in the USA, I think they should regard that and move it up in their agenda. Economic power as business development and economic power, I think, should be moved up in their list of to a top priority.
Cooling on a couch, watching TV. No, I'm feeling nothing but lazy. Feeling to some nothing else to do. Might as well go to the board and drop something brand new. Feeling on the dice, throwing shit down.
Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your contacts. Thank you.
Somebody's from Strathmore University here. We were holding a discussion about artificial intelligence at Strathmore University. And I said this, I said I'm a disruptive thinker. And I said, okay, you are IT experts. Who's IT? You are spanner boys and spanner girls for Google. Yeah, because you are not in control of the technology. So you may be doing things you have said, oh, cloud. Whose cloud? Are you in control of the cloud? Today we are all on website. Whose website? Who is controlling that website? A church here can be turned off like this. So in order, and this is the Pan-Africanism that I'm talking about, let us appropriate that technology and begin to control it from Accra. The Chinese have done that. Weibo, TikTok. But we have not. We are still gleefully Google. Cloud. You can be switched off like this. My Twitter account. That's not your Twitter account. Elon Musk sitting in Seattle can do it like this and you're finished. But what our IT at the university, I want to hear that there is a collaboration, because right now, Professor, you know, within East Africa we have university
you vice chancellors meet, both in Kenya and in East Africa, and West Africa is the same. I want to hear that one of the things you are talking about now is IT, because we are going into the fourth industrial revolution, the fifth industrial revolution, and we are talking artificial intelligence. But are we in control? Are we in control of the drone technology? We are just consumers without being in control.
The Black Greek organization Alpha Kappa Alpha is the first Black-owned, woman-led banking institution in the United States of America. Now, specifically, they said this: everyone doesn't understand the impact we make financially, so you have to start doing things so folks know we know how to control our money. And that came from the president of the AKAs, and it is for members only, and that is the name of their bank, for members only. So you have to be a member or a family member or somebody closely related to partake in the credit union, which they say are owned by the members. And so y'all tell me what y'all think of them opening up their first financial institution. Should also be said that the fraternities, they have a few, but this is the first for the women, the sorority. So what do y'all think of that?
Hold on, know that it's time to be strong. Let's all believe in the future. Together we can move on. Hey. Raise up your voice and be heard. Call it every generation, all over together.
Characterized by a landscape of new roads and buildings like shopping malls, hotels and apartments, Uganda is becoming one of the best places to do business in Africa. The country offers various lucrative business opportunities for entrepreneurs. With $10,000 or less, you can start a very profitable business anywhere in Uganda. With more capital, you can venture into bigger businesses like real estate and property sales and management. Though there are several business opportunities in Uganda, here are the best 10 sectors for investors to explore. Before we continue, permit me welcome you to Positive Africa. Here on this channel, our main goal is to bring out the best about our beloved African continent by means of information and education. Consider subscribing if you are new, so you never miss out on any of our videos. Following is a list of the top 10 small business investment opportunities in Uganda. Much of the food consumed in Uganda is imported, and the country spends several millions of US dollars annually on food importation alone. This creates huge opportunities for businesses that can produce and process foods locally. The demand for quality food is increasing with the growing population, especially in the urban areas. If you don't have a fat capital, you can still start a small food processing business that offers value-added processed foods like grains, nuts, cereals, fruits and vegetables. Due to the rapidly increasing number of new buildings and structures in Uganda, there is a booming demand for construction products and services. With a capital of less than $1,000, you can start a business that makes and sells cement blocks or stabilized earth bricks. With more than $10,000, you can venture into concrete pipes making or start a business that leases construction machinery such as trucks, asphalt mixers, bulldozers, concrete mixers, and concrete vibrators. If you have capital exceeding $50,000, you can establish a plant that makes concrete slabs, beams, and pillars. Better yet, you can lease even more sophisticated construction machines. This is another booming sector in Uganda that investors can explore. With a capital of between $10,000 and $50,000, you can start a real estate business by offering low-cost houses for sale. Selling medium-cost houses will require a capital somewhat between $50,000 and $100,000, and for high-cost houses such as residential villas, apartment complexes, office complexes, and housing estates, you require a startup capital of about the tune of $200,000. With little capital, you can venture into small-scale businesses that manufacture products that are in high demand. With capital between $1,000 and $10,000, you can start a sewing or tailoring business that produces clothing for men, women, and children. You can also start a business that offers printing and typesetting services. With a capital between $10,000 and $50,000, you can invest in furniture or soap making businesses. If your capital exceeds $100,000, you can consider starting a business that manufactures plastic wares. Uganda is one of the most visited vacation destinations in Africa. Because Uganda plays host to many visitors annually, there are opportunities for investors to make money off these visitors. With around $100,000 or more, you can set up a resort or a lodge for tourists. You can also set up a hotel or motel that gives these visitors a feeling of home even when they are miles away from home. If you have very little capital, you can turn your home or unused space into a bed and breakfast lodge for tourists.
Remember to like this video, subscribe, to the channel and share it with your contacts. Thank you.